A new training video starring Iron Mike himself surfaced, adding fuel to the already heated dispute between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. The footage, which was made public by Tyson's camp, showed the fighter's remarkable speed and power as he took on the MS, demonstrating his ageless determination. The response on the internet, though, was not unanimous. While Tyson's supporters were relieved to see hints of the vicious fighter he once was, Jake Paul saw it as an opportunity to stir things up once more with a now viral tweet. Paul shared a side-by-side comparison of Tyson's and his training videos online. "Looks like someone finally hired a decent cameraman," was the caption he posted. July 20, still slow motion though.
Day 3, Mikey, your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see. Whoop.
The tweet sparked outrage right away. Paul was criticized by some for his lack of courtesy and for allegedly undermining Tyson's efforts. Paul was reminded to show respect for an icon, such as Tyson, by former champions who spoke up for Tyson. However, Paul, who was an expert at using social media, was unmoved. He directly addressed the topic in a follow-up video. "I admire what Mike Tyson has accomplished," he remarked. "Without a question, he is a legend, but this is 2012, not 1986. Father Time hasn't lost yet, and it's coming for him. He's predictable, plotting, and much past his prime, a fact that isn't hidden by those clever camera angles." In addition to causing indignation, Paul's remarks had the desired effect of keeping the battle in the news. Whether it was an honest appraisal or a premeditated jab, Tyson clearly took offense at the story of a rude young upstart taking on a fading great. In retaliation, Tyson dropped a new video with brutal speed. This one was pure, unadulterated training footage with no fancy editing or camera techniques. With a brute force of force, Tyson struck the heavy bag, his brow glistening with sweat. The only sounds coming from Tyson's guttural roar and the thud of fists. There was only a silent message, no taunts or captions. Mike Tyson wasn't going to take Paul's rudeness lightly, he was ready. The internet became silent, and the bluster of Paul's previous message gave way to a graciousness. An extra layer of drama added to the already intriguing fight. Would Paul's youthful confidence and social media expertise cause him to backtrack from his remarks when he entered the ring beside a rejuvenated Mike Tyson, or would he regret them? Taken to a startling halt, these were questions only the bell on July 20th could answer. But one thing was evident. The war of words had turned into a fight of wills, a generational conflict that seemed set to be cataclysmic.
Listen, will you please promise me you're going to kick this guy's ass and shut him up, please?
Hey, I will do just that for you.
So you go.
Anything I'm afraid of, I confront it, and that's my personality. Like right now, I'm scared to death. But as the fight gets closer, the less nervous I become because it's reality. And in reality, I'm invincible.
Jake Paul tweeted a disparaging comparison between his own training video and Mike Tyson's. The internet virtually erupted. It was a flippant caption. On July 20, KO did nothing more than stoke the boxing fire. While everyone else shied away from Paul's rudeness, including pundits and fans, Mike Tyson saw things quite differently. This was a personal attack and a challenge to his fundamental being, not just another internet joke. It was unbearable to hear Tyson's camp quiet. The excitement increased as the days stretched into a week. At last, a video surfaced, not from a social media manager or publicist, but from Mike himself. In sharp contrast to Paul's ostentatious editing, it was. Falter this was pure Tyson, unadulterated. A man, completely naked, but for his combat gear, was drenched in sweat and threw a flurry of punches at the heavy bag, his blows resonating with raw anger. Just Tyson was visible. There were no creative camera angles or clever captions. The film ended abruptly with an eerie silence behind, his eyes blazing with intensity and the distinct sound of leather meeting fabric. When a news conference was planned for later that day, Tyson showed up with a determined look on his face. Reporters asked polite inquiries, sensing the raw passion in the room. At last, one courageous person dared to pose the most important query. "Mr. Tyson, what is your response to the recent remarks made by Mr. Paul?" With a low, rumbling voice that filled the room with reverence and sent thrills down spines, Tyson said. He gave a deep rumble, speaking slowly and deliberately. "All I ask is that, son, you think of yourself as a fighter. A fighter has respect for both the ring and his opponent, but on social media, you seem to be all talk and no action. A clown in a boxing gym dressing up, he waited for his words to fully register. He continued speaking on July 20th, becoming more intense. That's a lesson date, not a fight day. I am going to impart to you the meaning of facing a true fighter in the ring. Respect is something you'll have to learn the hard way. There was a buzz of tense energy in the room when the news conference concluded abruptly. Tyson's reply was a well-thought-out maneuver, a masterful display of intimidation. Rather than resorting to infantile jeers, he reminded Paul of the seriousness of the issue by virtue of his legacy and presence. The virtuoso of internet provocation, Jake Paul, looked suddenly like a little dog barking at a grizzly. There was now more to the fight than just Paul's antics, which had previously been seen as a spectacle. It was a conflict over decency. On July 20, a fight between a legendary fighter and a brash newcomer would not only be a fight, but also a turning point in both men's lives. Would Paul implode in the face of a revitalized Tyson, or would his nascent self-assurance and social media acumen enable him to accomplish the seemingly impossible? One thing is certain, the globe wouldn't miss this spectacle for anything. Only time will tell. Jake Paul's now deleted tweet regarding Mike Tyson's late daughter Exodus and his renowned trainer Custer. The tweet gave the already explosive relationship between the two a horrible turn. A mixture of callous insensitivity and inappropriate comedy caused quick indignation in the sports world. Above Mike Tyson against going to bed, a meme that alluded to the terrible demise of Exodus was read alongside the message. It continued with an insulting parody of D'Amato, the trainer who turned Tyson into a champion. Disgust exploded on the internet. Paul's acts were denounced by both fans and celebrities as heinous, and a new low sponsor distanced themselves. Boxing legends such as Evander Holyfield demanded that Paul be permanently barred from the sport. Even YouTubers, who frequently like stirring up controversy, denounced Paul's crudeness. After receiving such a strong criticism, Paul said nothing for a day. With a tone of mild regret in his voice, Paul apologized. He said he didn't realize the seriousness of what he was saying and that it was a careless joke, but many felt the apology was insincere. The harm had already occurred. There's been a crossing of the boundaries between disgusting disrespect and trash talk. Mike Tyson himself, meanwhile, said nothing at all, unusually so. There were no press conferences or angry posts on social media, just a deafening quiet that said volumes. Those close to Tyson disclosed a profound hurt, a hurt that went beyond the customary small talk prior to fights. With eager breath, the entire globe watched. Would there even be a fight? Could Tyson, who was still in mourning for his daughter, face the man who had so openly belittled him and his history in the ring? Weeks passed, and the outcome of the fight was still up in the air. Sponsors continued to exercise caution, and Paul's public backlash did not appear to be decreasing. At last, a statement from Tyson's team surfaced. The battle had begun. Mr. Tyson has made the decision to continue the battle. This is about redemption, not retaliation, the message said. With dignity and integrity, Mr. Tyson will enter the ring and protect his trainers and his daughter's legacy. Jake Paul will pay the price for his deeds on July 20th. The boxing world was rocked by the announcement. The fight had evolved from being merely a sporting event to a symbolic battle honoring the memory of a kid lost and the history of a legendary boxer. A different kind of tension, one born of grief, rage, and a strong need for justice, crackled in the air around the battle. Mike Tyson's legal team filed a lawsuit against the YouTuber-turned-boxer, which abruptly changed the course of their already combustible dispute. This occurred only a few days after Paul sent an offensive tweet regarding Tyson's late daughter Exodus and his illustrious trainer, which has since been removed. A lawsuit brought before a Nevada court claimed intentional infliction of emotional suffering, emotional anguish, and character slander. It went into depth about how Tyson and his family were hurt and incensed by Paul's remarks. Resolute Mike Tyson stated during a news conference that this is about fundamental human decency and that it is no longer just about boxing. Nobody should have their suffering made fun of, certainly not for promotional purposes. Normally a low rumbler, Tyson's voice shook with emotion during his speech. He talked about how Paul's callous remark had torn open his daughter's wounds again, wounds that never entirely healed. He described Cus Amato as someone who taught him discipline and respect in addition to being a trainer. The boxing community was shocked by the case. Many viewed it as a daring move, a legal blow meant to make Paul answerable for his deeds. Some questioned the viability of suing a well-known social media celebrity who enjoys stirring up controversy. He is seeking attention, while others claim Tyson is using this case as merely another means of making headlines. His legal team took a different stand. According to a representative for Tyson, the goal is to send a message, not to make money. While Jake Paul stayed famously mute on his social media sites, Mr. Paul spectacularly crossed lines that one should never cross. His sponsors began to distance themselves, fearing to be linked to the incident as soon as the steady trickle of braggadocio stopped. The internet once became enraged at Paul with a vengeance due to pre-fight hype. The actual fight, which was initially slated for July 20th, was postponed as the legal dispute played out. Under intense public criticism, the Boxing Commission opened an independent investigation into Paul's behavior. The case hung over Paul's career for a long time, as did the possible consequences from the Boxing Commission. Now that he was well known for his online pranks, he had to face the consequences of his conduct. Mike Tyson's legal action had changed, but the lawsuit's fate was still up in the air. The story, if the fight ever took place, it would be about a father seeking justice for his daughter's memory, not about a young upstart taking on a legend. It would be a fight where respect, decency, and the essence of boxing itself were at stake.